final leg of our trip ran from the Little Desert National Park to the coast at Nelson. The day was awesome, and there was a lot of water hanging around on the tracks after all the rain we'd had in the previous few days. As we drove through the Little Desert, we passed through a lot of yellow gum woodland and then stringy bark mallee with heathy understory, so lots and lots of shrubs and diversity. It was a really pretty sort of landscape to pass through. The tracks were excellent and we had a lot of fun driving through this part of the national park. Except for the wet patches, which such as this, that were quite something to be very wary of. There were some fairly big bog holes through here, so we just needed to be very careful moving through. We were just about to exit the park and the track down the border was just waterhole after waterhole, and so upon inspection we decided that we would actually take a side track out of the park and do a little bit of a bypass on that section. Had some traffic along the way, which was good traffic. This leg of our trip was possibly my favourite. It was a big day in the saddle. It took us the whole day to do it, and to be honest, it's really a 2-day trip, this leg of the trip, but we only had given ourselves 3 days to do the border track. But all the roads and side tracks that we took along the border were amazing, and we saw so many interesting landscapes and places I'd never been to. It was just incredible. Some of the tracks along the border itself wove in and out of across the border, like we're going through here into South Australia, so the track went back and forth, back and forth. Sometimes it was a very clearly marked track. You can see here we hit upon a group of emus, which was fantastic. Just slowed down a little bit to let them go rather than hassling them. But what we did find was the track varied a lot. It wasn't as well formed as further up north, but you could see that there had been people like ourselves travelling down this way quite regularly. But it wove in and out. Sometimes it wasn't very well signposted and wasn't well defined, so we were really using our HEMA mapping quite a lot to work out where we were. Along the way we had quite a few little side trips trying to follow the track along the border, and it was clear that there was an easement along the border, but in a lot of cases either the track conditions deteriorated or we just ran into fencing where farmers had just simply fenced the easement across, so we weren't able to get through. In this case here it was really boggy, and even though I could see a clear track on the other side, I just wasn't willing to cut up this farmer's paddock because we had actually gone in through gates to get across here. So we backtracked out and we went back, came back down a little bit further along, which was fine. So you can see here that the track isn't particularly well defined. We were really off grid here, but Um, it was all the fun of it. It was an awesome adventure, just winding our way in and out, looking at all this different country. Had to be super careful because there was a lot of water on the track, and one, we didn't want to get ourselves bogged, but two, we didn't want to make a mess for the locals either. So we just took it pretty easy. As we travelled closer to the Limestone Coast, the landscape became noticeably flatter, and travelling was fairly easy from this point on. Good tracks. Closer to the coast, started to pass through quite a few pine plantations. The track conditions varied considerably between asphalt, clay, gravel, sand. A lot of fun just driving through this section. Here we are on almost the final stint of our journey, approaching the Glenelg National Park. This is Donovan's Landings. This is the first point at which we come across the Glenelg River. It's just a few little boat houses, and there's the mighty Glenelg. So we're not quite at the sea yet, but you can see the limestone cliffs, which are characteristic of the Glenelg River system. Here we are approaching the highway, turning left towards Nelson, and we're just about to pass over the border for the final time into Victoria. Here we are finally arriving in Nelson, and we're just about to pass over the Glenelg River Bridge. And that was the end of our journey after 3 days. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little series. Please check out our YouTube channel for other 4-wheel drive trips around Victoria.